YouTubers, welcome back to the vlog. Today you'll find me working to cheer myself up as well as get a few things done that I needed done before Thanksgiving. Today I needed to give myself a kick in the butt, and I thought the best way to do that is start with a nice warm fire. I've just come back from vacation with my family, and although it was a lot of fun, I always find myself feeling extremely tired when I come home. And I almost feel in a time warp, being out of my normal routine for so long. The older I get, the longer it takes for me to get back into the swing of things after coming home. Something that always makes me feel 10 times better is getting outside, especially when I get to be with the puppers. Sometimes I need a little bit of medicine, but not medicine in a modern sense. Medicine in a way that feeds your soul. I never have to look too far for the medicine that I need, though. It's always nearby, especially living out here in the woods. There is great medicine in being a part of a pack, in belonging. There's great medicine in seeing dogs play and have fun. There's great medicine in receiving a hug. Medicine can be found in letting the sun warm your bones, and allowing the wind to play with your hair, feeling it touch your skin. Sometimes life is demanding and loud and fast-paced, but my mind always feels all the more quiet and calm when returning from a little walk with my pals.
A good step, P.
Usually when my mind is stormy like this, I find it's a lot easier if I just do things. Just start. And usually getting started is the hardest part. It's not actually doing things. It's just finding the will. And some days, finding that will can be a little bit more challenging than other days. And some days, when you have many tasks on your to-do list, the idea of having to get all of those things done can be incredibly daunting. But if we just starting one thing at a time, and remembering that we can only do one thing at a time. I don't believe in multitasking. I feel that the idea that people can multitask is a lie that was created for our industrialized world, perpetually making people think that we should always be grinding and never resting or reflecting. And I'm not saying that it's impossible to have multiple things going at once. But what I am trying to imply is that our hearts and focus can't be attentive and thoughtful 100% towards the tasks that we choose to work on all at once. Compartmentalizing is not a strong suit of mine, so I write my plan out and I take it from the top, and it makes things easy as pie, so to speak. I feel that having everything set up from the jump before I start a kitchen task reduces resistance and encourages me to be in flow. I can breathe a little easier and enjoy the process, and I realize that I can do anything. And that storminess I feel breaks a little, and I feel fair to partly cloudy. I don't make pies often. I'm actually more of a cobbler kind of gal. But pies are beautiful and something I like to make for special occasions, like the holidays. Today I'm making 2 pies, an apple pie and a pumpkin pie, because we had 2 Thanksgiving dinners to attend. I've never made a pumpkin pie, so I figured I'd try my hand and give it a go. What I'm doing here is cutting butter into small cubes so that I can cut the butter into the flour mixture that I placed in the food processor. This is how to make a flaky pie crust. I did the math earlier and increased the batch of the pie crust dough so that way I would have enough to make the crust for the pumpkin pie. Most recipes suggest that you use a pastry cutter or fork to cut the butter into the flour, but I use the food processor and it makes the process go by much faster. If you've ever had to cut butter into flour, you know it's not really an easy task. I just bypass all that fuss with the food processor instead. I won't lie, I am not very experienced in making pies. They aren't too difficult to make, but just like anything, there are nuances. It's the devil in the details that can trip you up if you let them. The spices I add to my apple pie are based on what I already have handy in the kitchen. I don't really follow any recipe strictly, I just kind of do my own thing. I'm not too worried about messing up anymore in the kitchen. It was Will's grandmother that made me realize that it really doesn't matter if something doesn't turn out quite right. She says just throw it away and no one will ever need to know. And you know what to do now, so just do it better next time. And I sure do love that woman. She is filled with infinite cooking wisdom. Here, I'm separating the dough out for the 2 different pies. The dough will chill in the fridge a little while before it is baked with the pie. It only needs about 20, maybe 30 minutes. This just helps the butter harden again, which helps the dough to keep its form while it bakes. This short chilled rest will also soften the gluten in the wheat, so that way the pie crust doesn't get chewy and stays nice and soft and flaky. I'll roll this base layer out and then go ahead and place it into the pie dish that I plan to bake it in, and it'll chill in the fridge just like that. It'll be ready to go for me after the dough has chilled for a bit. Yeah, none of this is hard, and it's all pretty straightforward. But all of it is really fussy and time-consuming, and a test to my patience, quite frankly. I guess in a way there is a challenge, especially when the edges of your pie crust want to split, and you're trying to mold a dough into as round of a shape as possible. But it doesn't mean that all of this isn't worth doing. Confronting challenge will always lead to growth. On a day like this day, I'm chanting in my mind, just keep going. I believe there is false reward in laying around all day. It sounds good temporarily, but to me, having an idle mind and hands couldn't make me feel more dead inside. It's alright for a little bit, but after a while, I'm yelling at myself, "What are you doing?" And that usually does the trick and strikes motivation in me to get going. Here, I'm getting the apples prepared in their buttery, spicy, and sweet goodness for the pie filling. Note that I am not shy when it comes to adding a lot of butter to my cooking. Something that fueled my drive to become a better cook was extreme food allergies that I suffered with for years. Not being able to eat out at many places forced me to develop some sort of proficiency in the kitchen. But I'm all better now, and enjoying all the dairy and butter that I couldn't before. I used to believe that I am not an artist, and that I didn't have it in me to be a creator, and that if I tried, that it wouldn't ever be good enough to actually be considered a masterpiece. But I was wrong, and I believe that anyone that is silly enough to feel the same about themselves is wrong as well. Humans are beautifully flawed creatures, but isn't that what makes this all so perfect? That we have been gifted with the ability to be creators and have an expression in this world that is so individualistic, that is so perfectly us, that is so perfectly you. We are so flawed that we dare let those imperfections speak volumes that cloud the mind and make us forget that it is those same flaws that bring works of art into being. And the fear of failing can be so paralyzing. Sometimes it's warranted, but mostly it only stops us from practicing our God-given talents and prolongs the ability to have pride in something that could have your name on it. And we are on to the pumpkin pie. Since this was my first time, I used a can of pumpkin puree, but next time I'll make it from some of our butternut squashes or maybe a Seminole pumpkin. The spices in this pie I made were all the typical warming spices. I used cinnamon, cardamom, nutmeg, allspice, cloves, and a little black pepper, all in varying ratios. I also put these same spices in the apple pie. I ended up coming back later that evening to bake the pies because I needed to be somewhere in the day. And, just to note, they were delicious. Naturally, there were things I could have done differently to make them better, but now I know better for the next time. And I know better for next time because sometimes doing hard things pays off.